Our beloved pets can either be our best friends or our worst nightmare if they are experiencing behavioral problems. I'm sure you've heard people say, if only I knew what my animal was thinking, I could figure out what was going on. Well, that's where I come in. I'm Karen, and animals speak to me. Hi everyone, you're watching Animals Speak to Me, and I'm Karen. I'm what's referred to as a self-taught animal communicator and medium, which means I've never taken any classes. I believe I was given these abilities at birth. I have been fortunate to have a mentor though, so if I run into a problem, she's been able to help me out, but I've never taken any classes. All my messages come to me naturally. So for people out there who have experienced either a communicator, a psychic, or a medium, the terminology will make sense. But for people watching for the first time, I'm going to call this Animal and Medium Speak 101. For example, when I'm doing a reading, I use the phrase, I hear, or I'm shown, or this is happening and that's happening, and people don't really understand what that means. So think of it like there's a screen in the back of my brain, and it's like a PowerPoint presentation. And the messages are being flashed across my brain, words, sounds, sight, sounds. I can even smell and taste when I'm doing a reading. So it makes it all that much more tactile when I talk to somebody. So now I'm going to be introducing my first guest, Annalise Lewis. Her sister Tracy unfortunately couldn't be here this evening, so Annalise is going to be giving Tracy's testimonial on her behalf. So I want to welcome you to the show, Annalise. Thanks for being here tonight.
Yes, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm so glad you're here. Okay, so Annalise, you and I have worked together at psychic fairs, and obviously, we can't. It's reader-client confidentiality. But are you comfortable sharing with your audience, remarks or comments people have made about my readings?
Every time they've talked to you, that it's always so insightful, and you're always so willing to give good insight and information that they feel that they have a connection with their animals if they are living or passed on.
Yes.
And they have such a good comprehension of what they're going to move forward with dealing with their animals, whether it's a behavior issue or whether they have passed on.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think that's one of the things that, one of my specialties is connecting humans to their animals in spirit, and being a pet parent myself. I mean, losing an animal is very traumatic. And they used to be very difficult for me, but I find that the more I do them, and I get to see, the closure, the peace that people get. And I used to think, well, I'm not supposed to cry or get emotional.
Right.
We all know that story about the tissue.
Yes.
But sometimes, it's just to feel the emotion that the person's going through when they talk to their animal, it's like you're crying with them and for them.
Absolutely, yeah. It's a whole healing process.
I've
seen it happen.
Okay.
Yeah, with you and the clients, it's amazing.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, I hope we can do some more fairs together in the future. But so could you do me a favor now?
Yes.
What I did was I did a couple readings for Annalise's sister, Tracy. Unfortunately, she couldn't be with us this evening, which is fine. So she's given Annalise permission to read her testimonial on her behalf.
Yes.
So would you mind sharing that with our audience?
Absolutely, yeah. So this is my sister, Tracy, and she wrote this in 2016. I am happy that I had an animal communication session with Karen. She has amazing abilities that can help many people. She certainly helped me. Grieving the loss of my first pet was devastating. I felt so much guilt, which made the grieving process even more difficult. I wanted to bring another animal into my life, but I was hesitant. Karen is able to read between the lines, and she said my guilt was a pattern in my life, especially at work. I had a person that was constantly trying to undermine me. When Karen picked up that I was viewing the situation differently, I now focus on my strengths and my talents rather than the negative energy of that person. I feel that a weight has been lifted since our session, and I am viewing aspects of my life differently. I am thankful to have a new animal in my life. I feel lighter and peaceful since our session. Thank you, Karen. This whole experience has been such a blessing.
That's lovely. See, and that's one of the reasons, I mean, when I get emails like that from my clients, that really warms my heart, because when I read, whether I'm reading a human, animal, whatever it is, what I want is, you know, sometimes people come in and they're in tears and they're just beside themselves. So my goal when I do a reading is to have the person, and Tracy said it really well, I want them walking out of the session, you know, happier and lighter than when they came in.
Absolutely.
So I want to go ahead and talk about, I'm going to read this story here, is we were talking a little bit about animal speak when I was saying things like, you know, I'm being shown or I'm seeing and I hear. So I donate a lot of gift certificates to fundraisers for animal rescues. And this woman won my certificate. So I'm able to sometimes get images before I do the reading.
Absolutely. I recall that.
Yeah, I recall that. So on my piece of paper, I write, okay, gorilla, bunny, and water dog. So I call up the client and I said, well, before I do the reading, I just wanted to tell you the first things I see. I said, I see a gorilla. And she said, oh, I didn't know they had gorillas in California. And we started cracking up laughing. And I said, oh, that's when I realized people don't understand, you know, animal speak.
Right.
But the gorilla, it's actually really an interesting story. This woman was an American diplomat in Africa.
Oh my goodness.
And she was walking in the jungles, and she came across a giant silverback. I got hairs on my arms.
That's
a giant silverback gorilla, and she thought, I'm dead meat.
Right.
And she said the gorilla pounded on his chest, and he just pushed her down. And further on in the reading, we found out why. Right after that, the Rwandan genocide occurred.
Oh my goodness.
And it gives me hair. I'm like, ooh, yeah.
Oh yeah. You're getting a little
And so
spiritual.
2 people had come to her door to ask her for sanctuary.
Oh.
So I'm just going to read a little bit about what she said here, because I didn't want to do it off the top of my head. She says, they were not guards, but some may have been renegade soldiers. They were mostly as civilians, but they got hooked into the genocide. She said she had a guard assigned to her house to protect her, but when all this went down, I had to take him in to protect because the soldiers didn't care who they killed. He and the 2 guards from my property next door were all sheltered beneath my roof. So essentially, the gorilla was protecting them too. Because during the reading, the gorilla came in and he said, I could have killed you in that jungle, but I just pushed you down because I was preparing you for my mission. He said, and your mission was to save those people. So I surrounded your home with the spirits of my most powerful gorillas, and they kept the soldiers away. And I mean, that just gave me goosebumps.
Absolutely.
Because she said she could never figure out why the soldiers never knocked on her door. And even the government wasn't going to go save them.
Right.
They were too afraid to go in.
Of course, yeah.
So when I do the readings, it's just, I get something out of it too.
Right.
And so she actually, she gave him a name, Senkwewe.
Oh.
And I searched on that, and Senkwewe is actually a sanctuary where they rescue orphan gorillas.
Okay.
So he and his spirits are now supporting the orphans.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really neat story. Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit more about, because Annalise, I said, is a reader in and of her own self. So like when we read together, I mean, and I'm comfortable with you sharing some experiences too, is maybe you can help me, like if I'm talking to a person and I'm not getting clarity, can you give me any kind of pointers on that, or
Well,
what works for you?
what works for me? Usually I get visual images downloaded, so that's something that works for me, but I know that you get a whole bunch of different downloads.
So you call them downloads?
I call them downloads.
Okay.
Yeah, I do. And it's all symbolic and visual, and I get what I call downloads. And that's the information that I have to then decipher to relate to that certain person that I'm speaking with or talking to.
Yeah.
And that's why a lot of times I do kind of close my eyes and kind of look up kind of thing.
Yeah, Just a lot of times people don't realize that when I'm talking to someone, intuitives generally look up and to the left. I don't know which way you look. I'm up and left.
I'm right, actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because it's like you're listening, but you have to go into that. Like you're calling it a download. I'm calling it my PowerPoint screen.
Right.
Yeah. Because that's the thing is I think I know when I read, I was always taught that you don't interpret the message that you're given. Like, for example, in this case, I'm talking to an animal, and the animal says, well, I want to be tough and strong like John Wayne.
Right.
And people will say, well, how does an animal know who John Wayne is?
Right.
They don't, but what happens with whether you're reading a human or an animal is they show us something that we've experienced in our physical lifetime.
Right.
So when we say that to the person, they'll understand the meaning.
Whatever we collect through our 50 to 60 drop-off locations throughout the state, it comes to Operation Blankets of Love.
Operation Blankets of Love is an animal welfare and emergency relief nonprofit organization dedicated to improving the chances for adoption and survival of homeless animals.
Well, we take in thousands of animals. We take them in 24/7. It's a scary environment for the animals when they come in. It might be this cold and sterile cage they're first put in, or a concrete kennel. It's not soft, it's not warm. They sit in the corner and they shake and they're scared. You might try to approach them, they may try to bite, but all it takes is a nice, warm, soft, fluffy blanket. They can hide in that, they can lay on that, and suddenly they're an adoptable, happy dog who's comfortable. They can get involved by donating. They can help Operation Blankets of Love by bringing blankets and toys and treats in, or cash donations. They're on call 24/7. They come to the shelters whenever we need them, and that costs money for your van, for gas, for maintenance, and so it's important that cash is good too if you can't do blanket drives.
We got several emails that the West Side is very low on blankets and towels.
We started with blankets, and now we even distribute food, pet beds, and medical supplies to homeless animals in shelters, rescue groups, and homeless animal caregivers.
How y'all doing? My name is Sebastian. I'm with Shorey's Rescue and Operation Blankets of Love.
I'm Steve.
Steve, nice to meet you.
Spike.
Spike? A leash right here for you. We got this dog bed for you, buddy.
Here you go. Thank you for this, really.
Hey, you're welcome. Yeah, that's what we're here for.
Then I was on the street for a couple of months, and then I found out about this place, which is the only place where they'll take dogs in a homeless shelter. A lot of these homeless folks, they got rid of their dogs before they hit the streets, and I wasn't willing to give up mine.
Is there anything else I can get you?
You know, this is like a real blessing. This is something that's not always provided to us. So I'm really grateful about this. Thank you.
Thanks for all your generous donations of new and gently used pet supplies.
To make a cash donation or find a donation drop box in your area, please visit operationblanketsoflove.org and help us save a life today.
So I had talked to a cat, a kitten rescue organization had helped me trap some cats. And so to pay them back, I went to the house to do some Reiki. I'm also a Reiki master. That'll leave too long to talk. And this one cat came right to my feet, and she said, oh, he never goes to anybody. But I think they feel the Reiki energy.
Yeah.
So I don't know if this makes sense, but like sometimes I think the animals don't talk to me when I'm with a human because they're afraid I'm going to tattle.
Oh,
but
of
they'll
course.
talk to me later.
Right.
Because once I make a connection with the human, that gives the animal permission to speak. So I'm driving home and I hear, hey Karen, it's Manny. Can I talk to you for a second? I said, sure, Manny, what's up? He said, I don't like my name. It's not tough enough. It's not strong enough.
Oh.
And so I said, okay, so well, what would you like? He says, well, like James Bond or West Side Story. And he said, I know I'm tough on the inside, but my name doesn't make me sound tough on the outside.
Right.
And I'm cracking up laughing. This is all in my head, mind you. So, because he was being returned.
I see.
He was being returned because he was not using his litter box.
Oh, okay.
Because he was having, anxiety issues from not being adopted. So I said, okay, well, what name, give me some ideas of names. And the first thing he's like, Jack, Jackson. That sounds really tough. And I said, okay, all right. So I called the rescuer and I said, I just had a little chat with Manny. And he wants to have his name changed to Jackson.
Right.
And I prescribed some remedies, which I do. But I told Jackson, I said, okay, but here's the criteria. If you pee outside the litter box, you're going to get returned.
Right.
So he went back once, and it wasn't his fault. But then he was adopted by a single mom. She was a makeup artist.
Okay.
And she changed his name, and he got to go on location with her.
Oh, how nice.
And so the last I saw, I got a really cute video clip of him, playing in his new house with his toys. And so that's really why I wanted to do this work, because the animals that are, with rescues, oftentimes they are returned because they
More
have
than
behavioral
once,
issues
too.
more than once.
Yeah.
And that diminishes their confidence.
Absolutely.
So, again, like the emails, when I saw the picture of him, in his new house playing with the toys, it really warmed my heart.
I can totally see it in my head.
Yeah. Annalise, I'm so happy you were here and that Tracy allowed you to share that wonderful testimonial. Like I said, honestly, I know I get paid for what I do, but seeing one of those is worth more than the dollar bills.
Absolutely.
So please again thank Tracy for me,
will.
and I'm so
I
glad to
will.
see you in person
Yeah.
and that you were here to share this
I'm
with
so
me.
glad that
Okay. I was here with you too. Sweetie, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Ray Hayes, and this is Madeline. I'm here to tell you about a wonderful nonprofit rescue organization right here in Pasadena, California, the Rainbow Rescue. The Rainbow Rescue was started 3 years ago to help all sorts of animals in need, whether from injury, abuse, neglect, or simply to assist with a vet bill, or assist those that are homeless with their pets. The Rainbow Rescue also assists other nonprofit organizations, either in person, by adopting, or by making financial contributions. To learn more about us and how you can help, visit us at therainbowrescue.org or on Facebook. Thank you very much for your support.
Welcome back to Animals Speak to Me. I'm your host, Karen. And I'm going to introduce my guests tonight. This is Daniel and Anthony. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Karen.
Good to see you, and I really appreciate you being here, sharing this with me. And
Thanks for having us.
oh, you're welcome.
You really helped us out a lot.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about Daniel and Anthony. I mean, they have a beautiful dog, Stella. She's sitting in the green room watching the show live.
I love
She's
how you-
waiting with bated breath.
I love how you must be channeling Andrew's past life, Anthony.
Oh, is that what it is? Andrew,
be.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Because it's on the teleprompter. Anyway, we don't mind those flubs. No, but we met at a function and I was doing a
Yeah, through
psychic-
Meetup, actually. We
Yeah.
found you through Meetup.
Right.
Mhm. At
So-
the time, just shortly after we had adopted our dog,
Yes.
Stella.
And so it was kind of unusual because it was the first time that I had read multiples, meaning I read you, I read Andrew, and I read Stella. But the particular thing I want to discuss is Stella's elimination habits. So can you tell our viewers what it was like with her not using the bathroom how she was supposed to, how it affected your lives?
Well, I mean, we got Stella at an adoption event at PetSmart, and we took her home right away, and then we had a vacation planned for a friend's wedding, and so we gave her back to the foster mom, and then
Oh, I
we
remember
picked
that.
her up.
Yeah.
And brought her home, and we had some construction going on around the house, and so it was really kind of a very difficult time to let her out in the backyard. We didn't have it all
okay.
fenced in, and so with getting into a new schedule of having a dog, she would pee and poop on the fabulous white sofa. So at least she's a white dog, but still, it caused quite a bit of problems for us, because I thought she was basically housebroken and really wasn't. And so working with you, we kind of came up with some solutions.
Yeah. So now, Andrew, I mean, did that affect your relationship at all? I mean, did that? Because sometimes when it's just like if a child's misbehaving.
Yeah.
Did you guys have any arguments over what to do about Stella? Do you want to talk?
A little bit, because he works long hours, so I'm usually the one that's home to clean up the mess.
So you're okay. Now I get it. Okay. So when I worked with him, one of the things that I do, not just with Daniel and Andrew, is we never call anything bad or wrong. It's the animal's doing what it knows how to do at the present time. So in this particular case, because I don't always have to hear an animal talk, but I was trying to explain to Stella that she no longer had to do that, and then I recommended some remedies, and that's one of the things I wanted you to talk about was when Andrew gave her the calms. Remember that? You sent me the photo, and he said she passed out. You got panicky. Can you tell tell us what happened?
She was. I don't know if panicky is the right word, but she didn't seem normal to me. Where she was normally, she's high energy, running around, and all of a sudden she's just passed out.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Is that my thought was that. Since her brain was busy so many times, once the calms hit her brain, it's like, oh, I can relax, and she just passed out. So like I said, I mean, I do. I always want to commend people like, Daniel and Andrew, because they're going above and beyond the call of duty, because somebody else would have returned Stella. So can you tell us a little bit, I mean, how's Stella doing today with her habits and what's going on?
It's funny because when we adopted her, I really had the feeling that this was kind of an adoption for life. So returning her was never really an option, but finding a solution. And especially, when we started channeling with her and with us, I didn't know what we were getting into, and I didn't know that it might be an individual or group, or we just showed up and sort of got into it with you. But I think that one of the things that was really beneficial in the process was to figure out that in the foster home, she was probably allowed to eliminate in the house and with some of the other dogs, because the house just really reeked them. And I think that basically she just thought that was normal behavior. But I think as we've worked together, it's one of those things she does when she gets separation anxiety or she's mad at us or something like that. But we just cover it up now.
But that's what I'm talking about, and that's why I just don't read the animals. I recommend the remedies and and things like that, because like I said, you don't know what's happened in the animal's past. You in this case do know, and we were exactly right. So what I do is I explain to Stella is that, okay, you don't need to do that anymore. This is a new house. This is a new place. You guys went to all kinds of training, agility training. She's got her beautiful backyard. So just explaining to her that, you don't need to do this anymore. And she's such a sweet dog. And so how long have you had her now?
A little over a year.
Really? I thought it was longer than that.
No, we adopted her July 4th last year.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So I know you just got back from a trip, and Stella traveled with you. How did you do on the vacation?
She did really well, actually. Yes, except, so we still have separation anxiety issues. So we can't really leave her at home alone without her starting to howl and whatnot. And we were in an apartment building, and one of our neighbors was just beside herself. It says, your dog's been howling all day. But she's a pack animal, and we're her pack. And so, we try to just go with her and take her everywhere.
Okay, well, that's what I'm talking about is that, animals do things, and fortunately and I mean this sincerely, she has parents like you, because oftentimes being in rescue, I see animals return for that. So first I want to thank you for taking such good care of Stella, and I want to thank you for being here with me and sharing my first show.
Oh yeah, thank you. Thanks for having us.
Oh, you're welcome.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Andrew. Welcome back to Animals Speak to Me. I'm your host, Karen Marenko. One of the things I want to address today is the amount of animals that are in shelters. It's estimated that 40 to 60% of animals are turned into shelters because of behavioral issues, which are really usually very easy to correct. I mean, a person, whether if it's a puppy or a grown dog, you can go to one of those basic classes at your local retail pet stores and start from there. But like as you just saw with Daniel, Andrew, and Stella was fortunate enough to have humans that cared enough to help her correct the problem and not just consider her a throwaway. She was already thrown away once. So I'm just going to answer a few basic questions here about common questions that my clients ask me all the time. And the first one is, why won't my cat use the litter box? Well, it's interesting because I have a lot of cat clients, and people think because their cat is small, it needs a small litter box. Well, no, cats need a lot of room. They need a lot of room to dig and scratch. And another thing people don't realize is their paws are very sensitive. And texture of litter can irritate their paws. So I suggest to people, keep the front part of the litter box empty so they can walk into a clean spot. Some cats like to have a covered litter box. They want privacy. A lot of cats don't like fragrance, the fragrance litters and the dust. So this is what I tell people, even if you can't hear animals like I do, become a detective. If your cat is eliminating outside the litter box, what's going on? Are you spraying chemicals? Was there a contractor at the house? And so once you really pay attention, you'll get some clues as to how to get your cat to use the litter box again. And another common one is, what do I do if my cat is scratching the furniture? Well, cats have nails and they need to scratch. So you need to replace the furniture with something they can scratch. So cats are either horizontal or vertical, and what that means is they either want to be on the ground level, and they like to scratch downwards, and some like to scratch upwards. So depending on your cat, you either get floor scratchers, or for your horizontals, you get the cone-shaped. And if they really need a little bit of a nudge, there's a product called Sticky Paws. It's a double-sided tape, and if you put that on your furniture, cats do not like it when they touch the sticky stuff. So you attract them away from the furniture, give them a good scratcher with some catnip, and they should stop scratching the furniture. Now, I can't say this for 100% sure. Dogs modify differently than cats, but those of us who can read or communicate believe that it is easier with cats if you can hear what they're thinking. For example, a case in point is I have a client, the cat was eliminating outside the litter box, and she was very fragrance sensitive. So when the housekeeper came over, there's Clorox, there's Windex, there's all these harsh chemical smells where her litter box was. So once we took away the smells that she didn't like, we got her a bigger box, got her some privacy, problem solved. So don't give up on your pet. Now, here's some questions about dogs. You know the exuberant dog, some of you out there, right? Guests come over and the dogs are jumping all over your guests. Well, here's a technique that I suggest. First of all, is if the dog is aggressive, you have to put him on a leash. But if the dog isn't aggressive, you stand up and you turn your back to the dog. Animals do not like to be ignored. So pretty soon, they'll learn that until they stop barking, they don't get pets. Well, I'm glad you were here to join me today for my show, Animals Speak to Me, and I look forward to having you see the show the next time.